It turns out that the unscrupulous author I was talking about is myself. LiMu couldn't help but sigh. Are there even foxes nowadays who can read and write? I should have known this would be a troublesome matter. He even wrote strange tales from a Chinese studio back then. Besides, the fox spirits in strange tales from a Chinese studio are all shapeshifted. She is still dozens of years away from the evolution shape in terms of cultivation level. When will it be time for her evolution shape? LiMu is still trying to persuade it. You can go back now. I really don't need you to repay me. The little fox pleaded. Your lordship, please don't drive me away. I will definitely work hard on my cultivation. Strive to achieve evolution shape as soon as possible. LiMu's inner monologue. This fox is too stubborn. LiMu thought for a moment and said, It's not that you can't achieve evolution shape. I already have a family. The little fox said nonchalantly. I can be a concubine, just like in Strange Tales from a Chinese studio. Besides, the gentleman has not yet established a family, she said. LiMu paused for a moment. You can tell that too? The little fox nodded shyly. The one from Master Inn. LiMu hurriedly interrupted her. No need to mention the rest. The little fox lay directly on LiMu's legs and pleaded. Master Inn, just take me home. I can wash clothes and warm the bed. How persistent is the Tianhu clan after all? It is written very clearly in the chronicles of the monsters of the 10 continents. In their perception, the grace of saving one's life is a great cause and effect. It must be settled. Stopping them from repaying their kindness and cutting off their cultivation path are no different. LiMu realized this and stopped advising further. At worst, he would take it back, let it warm the bed for a few days, and then send it away. LiMu took off his outer robe. Then he walked to the water's edge and rubbed off the several blood stains splattered on his court attire, to avoid attracting attention on his way back. Have you told your family that you will be going home with me? The little fox nodded. I have told my grandma. Grandma also agreed that I should repay your kindness earlier. LiMu continued. Although I have asked you to follow me temporarily, there are some things I need to clarify with you in advance. The first thing is that without my permission, you can only stay at home obediently and cannot run out casually. The little fox immediately agreed. I will behave well at home, although Yangqiu City doesn't have any powerful cultivators, but a fox that is just shaping embryo, in case it is seen by a malicious man of cultivation. It is inevitable that he will harbor evil intentions towards it. LiMu added, Do not speak in front of outsiders. The young fox quickly replied, I understand. I won't speak randomly, the young fox said. Soon, LiMu carried the young fox into the county town. The young fox hid in LiMu's arms, observing everything around him. At this moment, a constable quickly approached after seeing him. LiMu, where did you run off to? I've been searching for you everywhere, he said. There's something I don't know how to tell you. Anyway, hurry to the yamen. I've delivered the message. I'll go back to the yamen first. You must go as soon as possible. After LiMu sent the little fox back home, he headed to the yamen. He had just stepped into the yamen when Zhongshan walked over with a sorrowful expression and said, LiMu, you've finally returned. Old man Wang, he's gone. At this moment, LiMu also doesn't know what kind of feeling he has, because the real old man Wang had died several months ago. This is just one of ever-changing experts' plans. If ever-changing experts' plan succeeds, the person standing here now will not be himself. It will be him. He will replace himself to enjoy Li Qing's kindness. He will become neighbors with Lu Hanyin. Let Wan give him back rubs and shoulder massages. Even the little fox he saved, after evolution shape, will also come to repay him. The more LiMu thinks, the angrier he gets. This is unforgivable. At this moment, Zhongshan said, Old man Wang, I won't touch a single cent of your inheritance. We will raise a bit more money. I will give you a high-quality coffin made of Manhua wood, Li Qing said lightly. Come with me. I have something to tell you. LiMu obediently followed Li Qing to her room. LiMu turned around, closed the door to the room, and asked, Is there something on your mind, boss? As the voice fell silent, a white light flashed before LiMu's eyes. A cold sensation crept up his neck. Li Qing stared at him coldly. Who are you, really? LiMu asked as he looked at her. What's wrong with you, dear? Li Qing's expression was icy. Don't call me dear. Just now, the person who left the county office wasn't LiMu. Who are you, really? LiMu swallowed a mouthful of foam. When leaving the county office, he found that his body was completely controlled by the ever-changing expert. Given his cultivation level, Li Qing, who only possesses the cultivation level of cluster psychic, would not be able to see through it. At that time, Li Qing had already noticed something unusual. LiMu looked into Li Qing's eyes and said, Leader, take a closer look. I am really LiMu. Li Qing and LiMu locked eyes. The clarity in his gaze made Li Qing feel familiar. Perhaps someone could occupy LiMu's body, but they couldn't imitate his eyes. Li Qing then put away the Qinghong sword. LiMu breathed a sigh of relief and said, When I was leaving the county office just now, my body was being controlled by someone. I almost got my body occupied. Finally managed to escape. Li Qing held LiMu's hand worriedly and asked, Are you hurt? What exactly happened? LiMu sighed and said, We were all wrong. It was the fly zombie that the senior members of the talisman-making faction took down. It was just the ever-changing expert using the Yin-Yang 5 elements Hanpa technique. And with a large amount of energy cultivated from the essence and blood of living beings, he created a separate soul substitute. The real him is actually at the county office. He has always been around us. Li Qing felt a chill in her heart. Are you saying it's Old Man Wang? LiMu nodded. Old Man Wang is the ever-changing expert. He then lurked in the yamen. Only he could freely access the household registration information of the common people. He secretly orchestrated all of this. After being noticed by us, he did not hesitate to abandon that fly zombie avatar. He just tried to occupy my body. But he was killed by me. Li Qing looked at him. Did you kill ever-changing expert? LiMu pointed to the sky with one hand. I swear by the Tao. If there was half a lie in what I just said, let lightning strike me. No need. Li Qing quickly reached out and covered his mouth. You don't need to swear. I believe you. LiMu was a little out of breath from being covered by her. It was chirping non-stop. Li Qing quickly withdrew her own jade hand. He turned his head to the side, not daring to look directly at LiMu. No wonder he was terrified when he saw Old Man Wang dead. You don't seem sad at all. You already knew, didn't you? LiMu sighed. Actually, I don't want to believe it either. But it's true. He was extremely cautious in his actions. If he hadn't wanted to occupy my body, I would have thought he was already dead. Li Qing couldn't believe it. This person is actually so deceitful and cunning, LiMu said while looking at Li Qing. Can this matter not be reported upwards? If the higher-ups find out, they will definitely ask me how I killed ever-changing expert. This will bring a lot of unnecessary trouble. Anyway, ever-changing expert is already dead. There's no need to create more complications. Li Qing nodded. Then she directly grabbed LiMu's hand and said, Let me help heal your injuries first. Although I can go home and heal my injuries with the Heart Sutra. But the opportunity to openly hold hands with Li Qing is rare. At this moment, LiMu asked, Aren't you curious how I killed the ever-changing expert? Li Qing smiled faintly. The words you want to say will naturally be spoken to me. LiMu said, I have a magical power technique. It can prevent others from occupying my body. The part of ever-changing expert's soul was dissipated by the magical power rebound. Before he died, his overwhelming hatred towards me turned into evil intent. After my injury heals, I will be able to condense the 6 Pa Li-Ching said in surprise. In this way, you are left with only the 5th pa and the 7th pa left uncondensed. Have you figured out how to condense them? LiMu nodded. The 5th pa and the 7th pa are born from love and desire respectively. I have figured out how to collect these two emotions. But how should I tell Li-Ching? Just tell her that I plan to marry a few more wives. And then love will grow over time. LiMu withdrew his arm from their chests. All right. No need to be afraid. Let me introduce you. This is Miss Lu Hanyan. And this is Wanwan. You don't have to hold back in front of them in the future. LiMu pointed at the little fox again. Introduced to Lu Hanyan. He was stunned for a moment. He realized he hadn't asked for its name yet. He looked back at the little fox and asked, What is your name? The little fox said crisply, Ngong. My name is Little White. LiMu nodded and looked back at Lu Hanyan, saying, This is Little White, a small fox. I saved it from a hunter before. It's here to repay the kindness, LiMu explained. Lu Hanyan looked puzzled and asked, Repay the kindness? How can a fox repay kindness? Little White immediately said, I can help massage Lorden's legs, clean the house, and can warm the bed too. Wanwan pouted discontentedly. You've done all these. Then what should I do? LiMu ignored her every day. Lu Hanyan naturally would not suspect that LiMu had any intentions towards a vixen. Looking at this cute little fox, curiosity eventually overcame the fear of the supernatural. He squatted down and asked softly, Little White, what else can you do besides talking? The little fox felt a bit self-conscious and hung his head low. Besides learning to speak like humans, I don't know how to do anything else. She sniffed and said, Even though I don't know much now, but after my evolution shape, if you don't mind, I might be able to. I am willing to offer myself. Lu Hanyan and Wanwan were suddenly stunned, their mouths gaping wide enough to fit an egg. They both looked at LiMu at the same time. Serious with a deep sense of grievance. LiMu quickly explained, I didn't teach it that. The little fox nodded. I didn't learn this from anyone else. I saw this in the Strange Tales from a Chinese studio, LiMu said, not wanting to say anything else. LiMu waved his hand, turned around, and walked away. Seriously, he muttered. The more he talks, the more absurd it gets. You guys chat. I'm going to cook. The ever-changing expert is dead. The biggest threat has been eliminated. LiMu can finally resume a normal life. It's time to make a trip to Golden Mountain Temple. Abbot Puji's injuries probably need one more treatment. Then, he should make a full recovery. At this moment, a little fox came over and said, Master, let me wash it. LiMu declined its kind offer, and then asked a question. What do you usually eat? Asked LiMu. The little fox replied, I eat wild fruits from the mountains. Sometimes my grandma finds medicinal herbs, and sells them in the city. The money she earns is used to buy roasted chicken for us. LiMu thought for a moment. I got it. After we finish eating, I need to go out for a while. You just stay at home and don't run around. The little fox nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, I will take good care of the house. After eating, LiMu walked out and closed the courtyard gate. The little fox picked up a piece of cloth with its mouth, struggling to wipe the table. At this moment, it noticed Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio on the table. Curiously, it flipped through the book with its claws. After reading for a while, it murmured something to itself. It seems that Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio has not been published up to this volume yet. Golden Mountain Temple is here. LiMu still has injuries inside his body. He originally wanted to take a rest, but when he thought of treating the abbot, Xiandu always transfers all his energy to himself, borrowing his power. It is quicker and more convenient to recover on your own. Xiandu smiled and said, I have been waiting for you for a long time, Li. LiMu smiled back and said, Sorry. There were some delays at the yamen. Xiandu frowned and asked, Is Master Li injured? As he spoke, he took out a small bottle from his bosom. In this bottle are some spiritual medicines that the poor monk obtained from the alchemy cauldron faction. It can enhance magical powers, and is very effective in treating injuries. Masterly, please accept it. LiMu took the pill and said, "This is a pill from the alchemy cauldron faction, one of the 6 sects of the Taoist tradition. This is a valuable item." LiMu kept the small bottle. "Then I won't be polite." Soon, the 3 of them sat cross-legged. Xiandu placed his hand on LiMu's back. LiMu pressed against the back of the abbot and chanted the Heart Sutra silently. The dim white light could be seen from outside the Zen room, illuminating the Buddha hall. Not only the monks of the Golden Mountain Temple, but even the worshippers in the hall had become accustomed to the faintly glowing Buddha statues. These days, these few Buddha statues have been shining every day. This directly led to a several-fold increase in the number of incense-burning worshippers at Golden Mountain Temple in recent days. The amount of money donated for incense oil is much more than usual, but it's unknown exactly by how much. Inside the meditation room, LiMu slowly withdrew his hand. His complexion looked much better than before. Just now, he was treating the abbot's injury. LiMu also took a small kickback for himself. He used Xuandu's profound magical power to heal his own injury. The abbot stood up and performed a Buddhist ritual towards LiMu. "Thank you very much for your help these days," LiMu said. "Master Abbot, you're too polite. The ever-changing expert is up to no good. I almost fell victim to his vicious hands as well. The master is trying to eliminate harm for the people by killing him. Compared to the master, what I've done is nothing." The abbot only kindly watched as LiMu's foundation was destroyed. "If it weren't for Layman Li's help, not only is it difficult to restore my cultivation, but there will also be only a few years left in my life. Such great kindness. Golden Mountain Temple will surely repay it in the future," LiMu said. "Master Xiandu has helped me twice. I consider it as repaying his kindness." The abbot suddenly grabbed LiMu's wrist. "Xiandu is Xiandu, Lao is Lao Ni. I see that little Li as a practitioner of both Buddhism and Taoism, engaging in bidirectional cultivation. Let me give you a hand again." LiMu smiled and returned to Yangqiu City. Because the abbot helped him temper his body, even the discomfort caused by the lack of 2 specific acupoints disappeared. He just couldn't understand. Why does my clothes always get dirty every time after training? Now I have to wash them again after going back. LiMu just arrived at the door. Lu Hanyan looked at LiMu in confusion and asked, "How did you get dressed like this again?" LiMu directly threw the clothes to her. The public clothes got dirty. Lu Hanyan is still chattering incessantly. "It gets smelly every time. I really suspect you rolled around in the toilet." Suddenly, he noticed LiMu's hand. He felt like things were getting better again. She vaguely sensed that something was wrong. The more Lu Hanyan thought about it, the stronger this feeling of something being wrong became. She asked in a questioning tone, "What did you do secretly? Come on, confess it." LiMu felt a little embarrassed. Women are indeed exceptionally sensitive in some aspects, LiMu admitted straightforwardly. "It's because I am practicing Buddhist cultivation techniques, and a high monk helped me purify my body using his magical powers," Lu Hanyan said incredulously. "By practicing Buddhist cultivation techniques, your skin can become like yours?" LiMu nodded and said, "In the process of Buddhist cultivation, impurities in the body will be continuously expelled. Your skin will naturally improve." Lu Hanyan's eyes lit up. "Can I practice Buddhist cultivation techniques too?" LiMu nodded earnestly. "It's not impossible, if you don't mind your body undergoing some changes. For example, growing muscles all over your body, or you might even lose some hair." Lu Hanyan decisively shook her head. Forget it. I won't learn it. What's this about tempering the body that you mentioned?" LiMu explained. "If a deeply cultivated Buddhist practitioner is willing to expend their mana, forcefully help you force out impurities from your body. Even if you don't cultivate in the Buddhist realm, your body can become like mine. Of course, in addition to this, there is another method." Lu Hanyan asked again. What method? You continue speaking. LiMu turned around, sighed, and said, Forget it. Lu Hanyan was about to follow in, but suddenly remembered something. Yin-yang bidirectional cultivation seems feasible. Just like LiMu yin-yang bidirectional cultivation. Do those things every day. I have been getting along with LiMu for these months. Although she regards LiMu as the most trusted person, being close and intimate are completely different. She has been in the music hall for over a decade. She has seen too many faces of men and made up her mind long ago. In this life, she only lives for herself and not for any man. LiMu is someone worth entrusting. Lu Hanyan hopes to entrust Wan to him. As for herself, being neighbors with them for a lifetime would be very satisfying. LiMu has walked back to the courtyard, then walked out again. Lu Hanyan saw him about to say something and immediately said, Don't overthink it. I have never thought about getting married in this lifetime. Don't you give me ideas? LiMu took out a porcelain bottle from his arms. Pour out 2 pills for her and said, What you said doesn't make sense. These pills are for you. You and Wan each take 1. It can enhance your magical power. Lu Hanyan accepted the pill somewhat awkwardly. He is still thinking about our cultivation with Wan. It shows that he cares about us. Lu Hanyan snorted complacently in her heart. Men are so annoying. LiMu continued. Even if your constitution is compatible with mine. But you're not the type I like. How many times do I have to say this? Lu Hanyan's hand suddenly stopped receiving the elixir. The momentary feeling of being moved in her heart vanished instantly. She couldn't help but ask self-doubtfully, Am I not pretty? LiMu shook his head. You are pretty. Is my figure not good? Do I play the piano well? Do I not have money? LiMu faced this series of questions. Answered with confusion. You are doing well in every way, Lu Hanyan questioned. I'm not sure if you like me like this. So what kind of person do you like? LiMu thought for a moment. Do you have a obedient Wan? Can your boss beat us? Lu Hanyan could no longer contain her anger. Shut up. After speaking, without even looking at LiMu, she turns around and leaves without looking back. LiMu shook his head. She is the one who won't let me come up with ideas. But she is also the one who wants me to come up with ideas. It's really inexplicable and unreasonable. LiMu opened the door to the room. The little fox immediately ran over. Sir, you're back. I cleaned up the house. I also wiped the study once. LiMu reassuringly patted her on the head. He took out a pill from his pocket and said, Here, you should take this. Without asking any questions, the little fox swallowed it. Very obediently, it swallowed the pill directly. The little fox could feel a warm sensation spreading inside its body. Only then did he ask puzzledly, What is this, master? LiMu chuckled. This is a pill that enhances your magical power. It can help improve your cultivation progress. The little fox felt the medicinal power spreading inside her body. The eyes seemed to be pondering. Does the master think my evolution shape is too slow? In Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, the monsters can only do this, and that after a successful evolution shape. Is the master looking down on me because I can't evolution shape? Thinking of this, the little fox said seriously to LiMu, Master, rest assured. I will work hard in cultivation to strive for an early evolution shape. The little fox took out Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio and read it back and forth several times. Finally, he confirmed his speculation in his heart. Young master. I'll help you clean the study. But she just entered the courtyard gate. Just saw the little fox lying on the table. Wan asked, Where is the young master? The little fox raised its head and said, The young master is cultivating in his room. Miss Wan, do you need anything? Wan suddenly felt a little sad in her heart. Originally, she should have been the one lying there. She was the one who arrived at this house first. Now, she herself is like a guest. This little fox is not cute at all. She doesn't understand the concept of first come, first served at all. It even said that after becoming a human, it would offer itself to someone. The young master would never marry a fox. The young master likes obedient and well-behaved me. But this little fox also seems very obedient and well-behaved. It will eventually become a human in the future. Besides, it eats very little. He's full after eating only half a bowl. I have to eat at least 3 bowls in one meal. Will the gentleman be the same as my parents? Will he not want me anymore because I eat a lot? The young girl sighed, carrying a disappointed heart as she walked away desolately. Night fell quickly upon the world. Along with it came a wave of cold. It blew into the hearts of the 2 master and servant. The 2 women, one older and one younger, both sighed at the same time. One self-doubtingly asked, "Miss, have I eaten too much?" Lu Hanyin asked doubtfully. "Not at all. Not just a little bit. It's a lot. It's not like before. No need to starve anymore. Why do you still eat so much? You always end up eating until you're round and chubby." One lowered her head in frustration. "But I'm afraid of being hungry," she said. Lu Hanyin sighed softly and embraced her in his arms. "Don't worry. You won't go hungry again in the future," Lu Hanyin reassured her. One still felt somewhat anxious. "But what if the young master doesn't want me anymore because I eat a lot?" One worried that Little White eats so little. "When Little White becomes a human, he will like Little White." Lu Hanyin snorted coldly. Thinking of LiMu made her angry. But she still comforted One and said, "How could he not want you? He wishes he could have them all." Lu Hanyin still vividly remembers LiMu's future dreams. Make a lot of money to buy a big house. Then marry a few more beautiful wives. One may very well be one of the ones he mentioned. Perhaps that Constable Li Qing is also included in his plan. The only one missing is himself. Lu Hanyin doesn't know where she went wrong. She simply has no attraction to LiMu at all. Or maybe he wants to use reverse psychology on himself. Lu Hanyin thought about it carefully for a long time. Muttering to himself, "Why does LiMu just not like me?" One asked in return, "Does the lady like the young master?" Lu Hanyin shook her head sadly. "No, she doesn't like him." One was puzzled. "Then why does the lady want the young master to like her?" Lu Hanyin nodded. "Yeah. Why? If I never thought of marrying LiMu, why would I want him to like me?" Compared to the 2 disheartened individuals, LiMu seemed much more at ease. There was a little fox sleeping by his pillow. Even his dreams were exceptionally sweet. The next morning, LiMu woke up naturally. Little White is a descendant of the 9-tailed celestial fox. There was no strange smell coming from him. Instead, there was a slightly sweet smell. The quilt was fragrant and warm. LiMu suddenly felt that having a warm bed fox at home might not be a bad thing. After breakfast, LiMu arrived at the yamen. LiMu looked at Zhongshan and asked, "Why are you still sitting here? Don't you need to go on patrol?" Zhongshan was originally grieving for the death of old man Wang. But suddenly, he smelled something. He looked at LiMu in surprise and said, "Why do you smell so good? This scent is making me feel impulsive." LiMu looked at himself in confusion. "Why can't I smell it?" Zhongshan said. "It's the scent of a woman. Only women have this natural body fragrance. LiMu, you actually found a woman. Old man Wang just died, and you're already with a woman before his burial." At this moment, Li Qing walked into the funeral parlor. Suddenly, he paused his steps. Approaching LiMu, he asked, "What's that smell? How come it smells so good?" LiMu wished he had known earlier that this fragrance lingered for a long time. Yesterday, he said, he wouldn't let the little fox help him warm the bed. He looked at Li Qing and explained, "A few months ago, I rescued a little fox. Yesterday, I ran into it outside. It insists on following me home, saying it wants to repay me," LiMu said. With a worried heart, Li Qing looked at LiMu. "Head, could it be a misunderstanding that I went out to find a woman?" Zhangshan said. A look of interest appeared on his face. Repay the favor? How does a fox repay a favor? Could it be that kind of favor? Zhangshan couldn't help but ask curiously. I read in a book that they can turn into humans to help you. Is that true? LiMu said unhappily. What kind of chaotic books are you reading? Zhangshan said. It's just strange tales from a Chinese studio. This is not some chaotic book. The other day, even the boss was reading it. LiMu looked at Li Qing speechlessly. Li Qing just turned his head away and ignored him. LiMu helplessly said, When I didn't say anything, he just behaves like a clever little fox, only knowing how to sweep the floor and clean the table. It can't transform into a human and won't help me with anything. Zhangshan immediately lost interest. So everything written in the book is fake. Then I will go patrol, Li Qing said while looking at LiMu and asking. Little fox? LiMu nodded. Just a little demon who has just shaped its embryo. Got caught in a hunter's trap a few months ago by accident. It was me who saved it. Li Qing asked again, a vixen? LiMu nodded again. Li Qing said calmly, It's hard to guess the mind of a monster. Don't believe everything it says. Be careful yourself. Li Si, who had been watching from the side for a long time, showed a shocked expression. Looking at Li Qing's back as he walked away, Li Si muttered to himself. How is this possible? Said LiMu in confusion. What is possible? You mentioned last time that the boss gave me a strange look. What was wrong with it? Li Si is impatient and wishes you would improve quickly. It's not just a look at a subordinate. The boss seems to like you. LiMu didn't believe a word of it. How is that possible? Are you mistaken? Li Si said earnestly. A person's expression can deceive others. Words can deceive others too. But the gaze that's revealed unintentionally will not deceive. There's a big issue in the way the boss looks at you. And don't you think she's been too good to you? LiMu thought carefully. Li Qing is very good to him. But isn't it because he didn't have a good life before? Is she trying her best to extend her own life as the boss? Lu Hanyan is also very good to me. Does she also like herself? This is impossible, LiMu said lightly. Isn't the boss good to you? Li Si shook his head. That's different. Are you willing to bet with me? Let's bet on us doing the same thing. The boss's attitude towards you and towards us will be completely different. If you lose, you have to help me patrol the streets for a month. Otherwise, I will help you patrol the streets for a month. How about it? Do you dare to bet? LiMu also disdainfully replied, What's there to be afraid of? The two of them walked out of the yamen. Seeing that Zhangshan did not go on patrol and instead squatted at the street corner, throwing the broken steamed bun in his hand to a stray cat. He muttered quietly to himself as he tossed it. Are you a male cat or a female cat? Can you speak? Can you turn into a human? What does meow mean? In the end, can you or can't you? If you can, quickly transform for me. Li Si walked up behind him and said, Lao Zhang, I need you to help me with a favor. Zhangshan was about to say he was busy when he saw a little cat run past. At that moment, Li Si took out a copper coin from his pocket. He pinched it and waved it in front of his eyes. Zhangshan said disdainfully, You want to buy me with just 1 penny? Li Si magically turned the 1 penny in his hand into 2 pennies. Zhangshan was finally satisfied. 2 pennies are about right. Speak up. How can I help? Li Qing was patrolling a street somewhere. Zhangshan, with the two of them hinting at each other, followed from behind. Zhangshan leaned against his forehead and lamented. Head? I feel a bit dizzy in my head. I think I'm sick. Li Qing took out a talisman and handed it to him. Use this to turn into a bowl of talisman water. It's effective for relieving common cold symptoms with fever. Soon, Zhangshan ran to a street corner at the back with the talisman in his hand. Looking at the two people, he asked in confusion, Are you here just to deceive the talisman? Why don't you just go and ask her directly? LiMu asked. What does that prove? Last time I was sick, The head also gave me a talisman, LiMu replied without explaining. Instead, she suggested that LiMu should also give it a try. LiMu walked to the street corner. Before catching up with Liqing, she took the initiative to approach him. LiMu covered his forehead with his hand and said in the same tone, "I seem to be sick. I feel a bit dizzy in my head. My body is very uncomfortable." Liqing reached out and touched his forehead. After carefully confirming for half a minute, she said, "No fever." But even after saying that, she still seemed a little concerned. She grabbed his hand again and used her powers to check once more. There seemed to be no issues with his body either. Zhanshan and LiMu in the distance are watching. Indeed different. The boss treats LiMu better than he treats us. After a while, LiMu walked to the street corner with a dazed expression. LiMu glanced at him and said in a light tone, "You lost. Remember to help me patrol the streets for a month." LiMu still puzzled. "Does the boss really like me?" LiMu nodded and said, "Maybe just a little bit of affection." Whether he likes you or not remains to be tested. But the boss does treat you differently than he treats us. LiMu's face showed a thoughtful expression as he murmured, "But why would the boss like me?" LiMu asked calmly. "Do you need a reason to like someone? Is it not necessary?" LiMu's emotions are in chaos at the moment. If Tua really has feelings for me, then I just need to cultivate the relationship well in the days ahead. There is a high possibility that Tua and I will succeed in our relationship. But if that happens, wouldn't my dream of having a beloved wife and concubines go down the drain? LiMu saw through his thoughts. You already have a wife, yet you still want to sow your wild oats. Are you tired of living? LiMu was startled. Can you see through everything I think? LiMu snorted. I understand women, but I understand men even better. LiMu sighed. I need to observe the boss's thoughts a little more, if I have the chance. I could also test whether the boss has any feelings for me. Thinking about this, LiMu walked over. Boss, do you want to come to my house for lunch today? I thought about the last 2 ways to bring together. I'd like to discuss with you. Liqing shook his head. No need to eat. What solution do you have in mind? Love and desire are not so easy to gather. LiMu smiled and said, I read it in a book. Some men of cultivation will directly scatter the last 3 and then play with the feelings of women everywhere. Liqing frowned. At this moment, her displeasure was obvious. LiMu quickly said, Of course, I will not use this method. The scum who plays with girls' feelings is even more despicable than LiMu. But I can marry several more wives. Then I can extract the last 2 emotions from my own wife. Liqing's face is full of black lines. Although she knows this is a solution, for some reason she is very unhappy about it. LiMu seems to have not noticed Liqing's emotions, and continues to talk nonchalantly. This does not violate the law. There is also no moral issue. At this moment, Liqing snorts coldly, turns around, and leaves. LiMu suddenly panics. Oh no, the boss won't take it seriously, will he? 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. LiMu lay despondently on the table, since he told Liqing that he wanted to marry more wives. She has not talked to me for 3 days. She hasn't even come in to see me on duty. Should I take the initiative to apologize to her? Suddenly a book fell with a slap in front of LiMu. LiMu looked up in confusion. He saw Liqing saying faintly, Take a look at these. Love is big, love is small love. Desire is not just about physical desire. After you concentrate on these 2 POs, there are other ways. LiMu looked at her. Indeed, she was very concerned about me getting married. It's better to explain it clearly as soon as possible. Thinking of this, LiMu said shakily, That day I was just joking. Liqing interrupted him, saying, I was not joking with you. Take a closer look at what is written in this book. This is recorded. How can the person who has lost 7 be restored? LiMu was moved. Is the boss going to help me find them in these 3 days? He immediately spoke up. Boss, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made that kind of joke. Li Qing smiled. The 7 emotions. The first emotion of love does not only refer to romantic love between men and women. Family, friends, and lovers are all forms of small love. In addition, there is a kind of great love. This great love refers to compassion for all beings. Loving all beings naturally leads to being loved by all beings. It sounds very similar to the Buddhist concept of merit and the Taoist concept of telepathy. They both involve doing good deeds to help others or gathering followers. A power obtained from the heart/mind of people. You can also interpret it this way. Zhou Nation has a national temple built in every county and district, encouraging the people to worship. The more sincerely the people worship, the more powerful their intentions become. The prosperity or decline of the national temple depends on it. The prosperity or decline of the nation is closely linked to this. What you need is to gain the people's trust. That is great love. As for desire, it does not only refer to romantic desire. The 6 desires and the 6 sense consciousnesses are similar. They are the desires for seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. The desire for seeing refers to craving for beautiful and exotic things. Emotional desire is actually similar to volitional desire. If one does not have, you can use the other 5 desires to substitute. The desire for hearing refers to craving for beautiful sounds and praise. The desire for smell and the desire for taste refer to the craving for pleasant smells and tastes. The desire for touch refers to physical desires other than those related to men and women. LiMu fell into contemplation. Ms. Lu always likes to touch my body. This is the manifestation of desire. But it cannot absorb love. This means she doesn't really like me, right? Li Qing continued. There are many ways to gather the last 2 types of emotions. You don't have to force yourself to marry multiple wives. LiMu secretly complained in his heart. Gaining the faith of the people is much more difficult than marrying several wives. And I don't think marrying several wives is difficult at all. I am actually very willing to enjoy it. But obviously, these words cannot be said now. LiMu sighed and said, For now, I should focus on refining the evil qi of the ever-changing expert. After condensing another pa, I still need to continue refining the remaining pa power in my body. I must condense the 3 pas into my primordial spirit as soon as possible. It is important to advance to the middle realm of the 3 realms. I don't want to think too much about matters between men and women right now. Adding in mind after speaking, and who would have thought that I am not yet 19 years old? LiMu had just walked out of the duty room and was about to go on patrol when he was stopped by Zhongshan. Zhongshan caught up from behind and said, Don't go yet. The county magistrate is looking for you. He said officials from the county office have arrived. LiMu's face showed a hint of doubt. The county office? LiMu arrived at the county office hall, walked in, and greeted with a bow. Is there something you need, sir? County Magistrate Zhang walked up and smiled. You have done a lot of practical work for the people in the past few months, especially exposing the conspiracy of that evil Taoist practitioner named Dong Xian, saving Beijun from disaster. All of this is clearly seen by the official. This time, Head Wu tragically died in the line of duty. The official was originally planning to have you take over his position. LiMu was shocked to hear this. He is very clear about his own abilities. LiMu hurriedly spoke up to decline. Please rethink it, sir. My strength is too weak. I haven't even completely assimilated the 7 pa. I'm afraid I can't take on such a heavy responsibility. County Magistrate Zhang shook his head. Although our county values you greatly. But now, even if I want to entrust you with such a heavy responsibility, I'm afraid it's not possible. County Magistrate Zhang pointed at the 3 officials and said, These few are here to deliver official documents to the county office as ordered by the prefect. LiMu faintly sensed a hint of danger. What official documents? Asked County Magistrate Zhang. During the zombie incident in Zhang Village, you were the one who suggested that glutinous rice can restrain the zombies. I will inform the prefectural governor of this method. It greatly restrained the spread of the zombie disaster in Zhou County. Otherwise, the disaster would have been much worse. More people in Zhou County would have died. This ever-changing expert incident was also the first one you discovered. Thanks to your timely report, the experts from the talisman-making faction were able to take action early and completely eliminate this beast, even though you were not directly involved. But your credit cannot be erased. LiMu asked in puzzlement. So, Magistrate Zhang congratulated. So, the Lord not only rewarded you with the P and Hun powers for your cultivation, but also prepared to transfer you to the county office. There, your monthly salary will be twice what it is now. Congratulations in advance from me here. LiMu was completely stunned. Going to the county office? He was not mentally prepared for this at all. The territory of the Zhou nation is vast. But there are only 36 counties. The northern county is very large, even comparable to the area of Yangqiu City. It is also much larger than the county's level administrative districts in later generations. The city of Yangqiu City is at least a few hundred miles away from the county town of the northern county. My home is in Yangqiu City. It's not worth running to such a distant place just to earn an extra 500 coins a month. And since meeting Lu Hanyan, whether it's publishing a book or opening a shop, everything has been very smooth, making a few hundred coins in minutes. There is even less need to go to the county seat. He asked tentatively, "Can I just receive the reward without going to the county seat?" An official from the county government office snorted coldly. "What are the orders from the county magistrate? Can one choose half and leave half?" LiMu waved his hand. "Then let's forget about all of them. After all, being a constable is not a decent job. Lu Hanyan has long been advising me to resign and work with her. If it weren't for providing convenience for cultivation at the same time. It is also possible to truly do some things for the people. I have long been holding Lu Hanyan's thigh and asking her to take off." The official gave LiMu a stern look. "The order of the magistrate has been conveyed to us. You are required to report to the magistrate's office in the county 1 month later. If you fail to come after the deadline, the consequences will be yours to bear." County Magistrate Zhang said puzzledly. "Yangqiu City is ultimately too small. This is a great opportunity for you. It is very beneficial for your future cultivation. Why don't you want to go to the county city?" LiMu sighed. "I have feelings for this place." Magistrate Zhang was startled. "Feelings? How come I didn't know you were so passionate about your work? Isn't it because of work after all?" Magistrate Zhang suddenly realized and said, "I understand now. It's not that you are emotional about the county offices, but about the people in the county offices." "But Miss Qing is a disciple of the talisman-making faction. The magistrate has no authority to order. You are my official in the Zhou nation. As long as you are still in the county office, you must follow the magistrate's orders. Unless you don't want to be a constable anymore." LiMu did not immediately agree. "Let me think about it again." Lisi couldn't help asking, "There shouldn't be anything about me here, right?" Magistrate Zhang glanced at him. "If there is nothing about you, why did I summon you here? You are the same as LiMu. Report to the county yamen a month later." Lisi said in confusion. "Why do I have to go? I didn't do anything meritorious. It's LiMu who should be promoted by the county magistrate, not me." Magistrate Zhang said, "It's not the county magistrate who gave you this order, it's the county prime minister." Lisi was stunned for a moment. He immediately remembered the county magistrate's daughter, Chen Miao Miao, and said decisively, "Sir, I want to resign." Magistrate Zhang angrily said, "When you resign, how will you eat and support yourself? Can you rely on courtesans to feed on easy meals for your whole life?" Lisi nodded earnestly. "Doctor, I've said that I have a bad stomach. I can only eat easy meals in this lifetime." County Magistrate Zhang said coldly, "Even if you resign, it won't make a difference. The county magistrate's intention is for you to go, you must go. You must go even if you don't want to go. There are only 2 choices in front of you. You can choose to go by yourself, or you will be taken there by someone else." Li Si is like an eggplant that has been hit by frost. He has been listless ever since leaving the front hall. Zhang Shan sighed when he heard about this. It's all my fault. If I hadn't asked you for help in the first place, none of this would have happened. Li Si shook his head. It's not your fault. Zhao Yong, that beast, deserves to die 1,000 times or 10,000 times. If I could do it over again, I would still kill him, Zhang Shan said. What are you going to do? Do you really plan to go to the county city? Li Si thought for a moment and said, Let's take it step by step. LiMu shook his head and sighed. I haven't figured out what to do yet. With the improvement of one's cultivation level, the cultivation resources I can obtain from here will also become fewer and fewer. Compared to the cultivation resources of a county capital, it's incomparable. However, I can't see Li Qing in the upper yamen. I can't see Lu Hanyan and Wanwan in the lower yamen. I can't visit sewer regularly either. Such days are meaningless. Zhang Shan sighed and said, What a pity. The county magistrate didn't let me go. The monthly allowance in the county capital would double. At this moment, Li Qing walked over. Her gaze seemed distracted, as if she had something on her mind. LiMu looked at her with concern. But Li Qing remained silent, lost in her thoughts. It wasn't until a moment later that she spoke. I heard Master Zhang say that the Lord Prefect wants to promote you to the prefectural city. This is a rare opportunity for you. There are many cultivation resources in the prefectural yamen that can be obtained through meritorious service. LiMu shook his head. I don't want to go. I'm used to following the boss. If you don't go, then I won't go either. Li Qing's eyes had a moment of distraction. The gaze towards LiMu softened slightly, then shook his head. Half a month later, my training at the Yang County Government Office will be over. LiMu was stunned for a moment. His eyes were full of disbelief. LiMu asked, Are you going back to the sect? Li Qing nodded slightly. My training in the county yamen has come to an end. Half a month later, the sect will send new disciples. The disciples of the talisman-making faction cannot stay in the local government all the time. LiMu knew this day would come soon, but did not expect it to come so quickly. Li Qing sighed and said, After I leave, you have to be careful on your own. LiMu's expression was also not very good. Don't worry, said the boss. I am not the same person I used to be. Li Qing smiled. In these past few months, you have completely changed. Sometimes I wonder if there is another spirit in your body, Li Qing said. LiMu breathed a sigh of relief and said, The old LiMu is indeed dead. The one standing before you now is the reborn LiMu. If it wasn't for the ever-changing expert making me die once, maybe I wouldn't have these changes. Li Qing looked at him. You now have more responsibility and more justice. You are indeed much better than before. After being silent for a while, he asked again, After I leave, will you go to the county office? LiMu nodded. Yes, I will. There are after all more opportunities there. After saying that, I want to add one more thing. Since you are not staying in the county anymore, my reasons for staying here are not so convincing. Li Qing reminded me. That's true. However, the county town is not like the county seat. The cases there will be more difficult to handle. The criminals encountered there are also more dangerous. Be careful with everything. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. LiMu arrived at the duty room early in the morning and saw Zhang Shan and Li Si standing at the door. Ears against the door. Gui Chong Chong didn't know what they were doing. He walked over to ask just as Zhang Shan suddenly made a silencing gesture to him. LiMu walked slowly to their side. Not posted by the door. The 5 senses of people in cultivation will be greatly enhanced. And he has also started practicing the 6 sense consciousnesses. Standing here, one can clearly hear the conversation inside the room. Inside the room. Li Qing stood up and asked, Is there something wrong, Head Han? Han just smiled bitterly and said, Junior sister Li. Even if we are not from the same sect, we still belong to the same martial arts community. Would it be too much to call me senior martial brother? After a moment of silence, Li-Qing said, Just speak your mind, senior brother Han. Hanja replied. In recent years, junior sister Li has stayed at Smelt Pa and Congeal Hun for a long time. She should be solidifying her foundation. I want to wait until after Cluster Psychic before quickly breaking through to Open Psychic. Li-Qing nodded without denying it. Hanja took a deep breath. In that case, junior sister Li should go into seclusion for cultivation after returning to the mountain. There's actually something I've wanted to tell junior sister Li for a long time. If I don't say it now, I'm afraid I won't have a chance after returning to the sect. He closed his eyes, gathered his courage, and said, Junior sister Li, I've actually liked you for a long time. Would you be willing to become my bidirectional cultivation partner? Li-Qing rejected without hesitation. Sorry, Senior Han. She shook her head. Hanja's face turned pale. Is it because of LiMu? Do you like LiMu, right? LiMu, who was eavesdropping outside the door, felt her heart skip a beat instantly. Although he and Li-Qing had a secret affection for each other. After all, the final layer of obstacle had not been broken through. At this moment, Li-Qing said, In my heart, there is only cultivation. Not long after, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open with a loud bang. Hanja walked out from inside in a dazed and lost state. After glancing at LiMu, he left directly. He was very clear in his heart. Junior sister Li refused me absolutely not because she wanted to focus on cultivation. Zhangshan let out a soft sigh. Head Han looks pretty miserable. He was straightforwardly rejected by his boss. LiMu enters the duty room. Seeing that Li-Qing has already packed up, he speaks up and asks, Boss, are you leaving today? Li-Qing nodded. I'll leave in a little while. You don't need to call me boss anymore in the future. LiMu smiled and said, I'm used to calling you that and can't change it for a while. Actually, I've been wanting to say something to the boss for a long time. A trace of panic flashed in Li-Qing's eyes. But more of it is anticipation. You go ahead. LiMu chuckled. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me cultivation. Taking care of me and protecting me during this time. Giving me a precious sword as a gift. Gather spiritual power for me. Li-Qing is feeling a bit lost. I have told you that you are my subordinate. If you have your own subordinates in the future, you must also take responsibility for them. LiMu nodded. I got it. I will see you off when you leave. LiMu walked out of the duty room and saw Hanja standing in the yard. Hanja sighed and said, Today, I am also going back to the sect. I don't know if we will have the fate to meet again in the future, although I don't find you very pleasing. But you have been a comrade who fought side by side with me many times. We may not have the chance to meet again in the future. Shall we go for a drink? LiMu nodded with a smile. Let's go. Soon, several people arrived at an inn. After Hanja had drunk 2 glasses of wine, he started feeling a bit dizzy. Praise Li-Si. In this yamen, I don't admire anyone else. The one I admire the most is you. You can sleep with any girl you want in the brothel, no need to pay. In fact, when in a sect, I noticed junior sister Li a long time ago. She is the most diligent and serious in their cultivation. More serious than senior brother Qin. Pointing at LiMu, she said, I should have known early on that cultivation is all she cares about. I lost. But LiMu, you haven't won either. At this moment, Zhangshan said, She is about to leave. Are you really not planning to express your feelings to her before she leaves? Even Hanja, Li-Si stuffed a chicken leg into his mouth. Stop making trouble. Don't you understand her yet? Since the boss has decided to leave, it's useless for LiMu to say or do anything. LiMu forced a bitter smile. If I were like Hanja, it would only make the parting feel less like a parting. In fact, he understands Li-Qing's personality better than anyone else. He appreciates and feels grateful for his feelings towards Li-Qing. But if we were to talk about liking or love between a man and a woman, it may not have reached that level yet. Perhaps if they spend more time together, maybe they would have broken through that relationship barrier. It's a pity that there is no longer a chance. Hige got drunk very quickly. He also revealed a lot of his inner thoughts. LiMu helped him to the storeroom to rest. Zhongshan and Li Si went back to their duty room. However, as soon as the two of them pushed open the door to the duty room, they saw Li Qing glaring at them with an angry expression on her face. She reeked of alcohol. It's best not to drink alcohol during office hours in the future. The newcomer constable may be stricter with you than I am, Zhongshan hurriedly said. Just this once. I won't dare again in the future. Li Si suddenly looked at Li Qing and asked, Boss, have you really thought it through? Which is more important, cultivation or emotions? Zhongshan looked at Li Si in confusion and asked, What are you talking about? Li Si sighed and said, In relationships, it's always easier to take a step back than to move forward. Take a step back now. If you regret it later, you can always move forward. If you hesitate, it may not just be a step to catch up. By the time you regret, perhaps someone has already moved ahead of you. Li Qing stood still where he was. Flashes of the scenes they had gone through together in the past few months crossed his mind. How could she not be clear about these principles? But in front of her, it's not just about emotions. There is also the hatred that she cannot let go of. Without seeking revenge, she cannot pursue happiness. In the end, she gritted her teeth in silence, praying in her heart, LiMu, wait for me at the county yamen gate. County Magistrate Zhang personally saw Li Qing and Hanje out of the county yamen. They didn't know when they would see each other again after this farewell. Head Constable Li and Head Constable Han, on behalf of the county yamen and representing the people of Yangqiu City, thank the two of you for your contributions to Yangqiu City in the past. I hope both of you have a smooth cultivation in the future. Zhongshan and Li Si stood together, smiling at Li Qing. Take care, Head. Li Qing's gaze swept over them. Finally, Li Qing's gaze landed on LiMu's face. After a moment, she smiled sweetly and said, Goodbye. LiMu watched as two figures gradually disappeared. I hope everything goes smoothly for you in the future. I hope we can see each other again someday. Zhongshan patted LiMu on the shoulder. Let's go back, Li Si said. She's not one of us. Forget about her. Actually, Miss Lu is not bad either. She is more suitable for you than the boss. If it doesn't work out, there is also the little girl. LiMu smiled at the words. Lu Hanyan is capable in both the hall and the kitchen. She is good at singing and dancing, and is also very wealthy. Compared to Li Qing, there is a bit more worldly aura in LiMu. But she has no plans to get married in this lifetime. When LiMu returned home from the yamen, Lu Hanyan had already prepared the meal. It has been a long time since they shared a meal together. They have a tacit understanding between them. If LiMu cooks, she will be the one to do the dishes and clean the pots and pans. After dinner, LiMu lounged on the rocking chair in the yard to cool off. Lu Hanyan followed and asked why he was so silent during the meal. I didn't eat much either. Do you have something on your mind? LiMu sighed and said, The master has returned to the sect. Lu Hanyan was surprised and asked, So Chief Li has left. Will she come back? LiMu shook his head and said, She is not coming back. Lu Hanyan was stunned. No wonder he has been feeling down. Lu Hanyan looked at LiMu and said, Do you want me to accompany you for a drink? Lu Hanyan also drinks a little when he is happy on normal days. But she doesn't drink much. After pouring a glass of wine for LiMu, she said, No matter where you go, there is lush grass. With your qualities, what type of person could you not find? Think about your grand mansion. Aren't you still planning to marry several wives? How could you falter just because of this setback, as LiMu said? You have misunderstood. Things are not as you imagine them to be. I'm just feeling a little sad because Tua is leaving. It's not like Hanja who is heartbroken. Lu Hanyan looked at him intently. It seems that he really likes Chief Li. He is still forcing a smile even now. Lu Hanyan followed up saying to LiMu, "The girls from the music hall and theater are young and beautiful. As long as you don't mind their background, I will help you make a match. Or if you don't like them, I will marry one to you in 2 years. Anyway, her heart is set on you," said LiMu helplessly. "You have really misunderstood." Lu Hanyan filled the wine glass. "Let's not talk about it. Tonight we won't stop until we're drunk," she said. LiMu didn't know when he lost consciousness. He only knew that both he and Lu Hanyan drank a lot. When he woke up, he was already in his own bed. He opened his eyes and saw that he and Lu Hanyan were sleeping on the bed. LiMu jumped up all of a sudden, blushing with a sense of panic in his heart. He was about to sneak away. To avoid waking up Lu Hanyan and not being able to explain, LiMu quickly tried to sneak away. But he suddenly realized that his hand was holding Lu Hanyan's, with their fingers tightly intertwined, unsure of when it happened. Lu Hanyan, who was asleep, fluttered her eyelashes. Suddenly she opened her eyes. Just woke up. Her gaze was still a bit unfocused. But when she saw LiMu opposite her, she suddenly woke up. She instantly remembered what happened last night. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong with her body, and her clothes were intact. She hadn't even taken off her shoes. It seemed she simply slept on the same bed, nothing happened. But her fingers were intertwined with his, holding hands tightly. LiMu quickly explained, "Look, our clothes are still on properly." Lu Hanyan nodded shyly. "I know. Nothing happened last night." At this moment, LiMu suddenly discovered that the speed of the energy movement in his body had increased significantly. The most important thing was that he clearly hadn't been practicing. Could it be because of? LiMu let the energy in his body circulate on its own, from his left hand into Lu Hanyan's right hand. Then it is transmitted back from Lu Hanyan's left hand to his body. The speed of the mana circulation in this process is very fast. This represents that the speed of mana growth will be faster than his cultivation alone. This must be because one is pure yang and the other is pure yin. They are attracted to each other due to yin-yang. So cultivation is achieved within a day, at least comparable to LiMu's own cultivation for 3 days. Lu Hanyan subconsciously pulled back his hand. Although when the two of them were holding hands tightly, she would have a very comfortable feeling in her body. And when she pulled her hand back, this feeling immediately disappeared. The stark contrast left her feeling lost and forlorn. So she quietly put her fingers back again, once again experiencing that comfortable feeling. She widened her eyes and looked at LiMu, asking, "When I hold your hand, I feel very comfortable. What's going on?" LiMu shook his head. "I don't know either. Maybe it's because of our unique physique," Lu Hanyan exclaimed. Pure yang, pure yin body. Could this be bidirectional cultivation? But the book didn't say that bidirectional cultivation needs that, did it? LiMu's face turned red. Perhaps this is also a form of bidirectional cultivation method. Just not as effective, right? At this moment, the door was knocked open with a bang. "Young masters and ladies, are you awake? You drank too much last night." Hand in hand, sleeping on the bed. "I can't seem to pull it apart. I'll just let Miss Wanwan sleep here for the night." Wanwan's words stopped halfway, looking at LiMu and Lu Hanyan tightly holding hands. Her face was full of disbelief. "Nothing happened between us. Next time, just wake me up directly," Wanwan said in grievance. "I did call, but no matter how I called, she couldn't be woken up." Lu Hanyan rubbed her forehead. "Let's go back first. There are still many things to do in the shop." After saying this, she added in her mind, "Go back and explain to the little girl later. It's awkward to stay here at LiMu. It's getting dark." LiMu sat cross-legged in the courtyard. The transformation of the evil aura from the ever-changing expert has been completed. It is time for him to condense the next pa. LiMu silently closed his eyes and said, 9 rounds of pure energy, suppressing the evil. Celestial beasts guard the gate. Delicate girls hold the key. After nearly half a year, his 7 pa condensed into 5 pa. His magic power is now similar to a cultivator who has just entered the second realm. Search for talismans like the Hun Talisman, Xinxing Talisman, and Immortal's Guidance Talisman. He has been able to successfully write them out. And the third character of the Taoism mantra of 9 words. LiMu tried several times. Finally confirmed that he still cannot master it at present. At this time, Little White said, "Congratulations, Lord, on successfully condensing pa." LiMu smiled. A county magistrate is not the same as a county town. There are many profound cultivators there. It will be dangerous for you to go. These days have passed. The favor you should have repaid has already been repaid. In a few days, I will send you back to the mountains. Little White refused. No. Perhaps for Sir In, it's just a small gesture, but if it weren't for Sir In, I have already died in the hands of the hunter. Sir In's small gesture of help is saving my life. It cannot be repaid just by sweeping the floor or wiping the table. LiMu was a bit speechless. This little fox is very obedient when obedient, and very stubborn when stubborn. This is the biggest difference between her and one apart from her appetite. LiMu said, "You can't repay me anything now. Come back to the county to find me after you evolve into your evolution shape." At this moment, Lu Hanyan had just walked into the yard. She heard these words from a distance. Lu Hanyan thought carefully. What things evolution shape cannot do before, and can only do after evolution shape? Suddenly, Lu Hanyan thought of something. LiMu was indeed thinking about the fox spirit. You really are a rogue. Then she threw a contemptuous look at LiMu. LiMu pretended not to see it. The county city is the capital of the northern county. There are countless cultivators stationed in the city. It is not a place where a shaping embryo realm little demon should go. It's safer on the mountain. Little White now knows that Master is not driving it away, just feeling that its cultivation is too shallow to evolve into evolution shape. The little fox could only nod obediently and say, "Master, rest assured. I will cultivate well in the mountain, and strive to evolve into evolution shape to find Master as soon as possible." LiMu let out a sigh of relief. While Little White's talent is good, she is still too young. Even if she manages to find herself in the future, it will be more than 10 years later. Lu Hanyan leaned against the door and asked, "When are you leaving?" LiMu replied casually, "In a few days." "Why?" Lu Hanyan suggested. "Then there's no rush to leave." "Do you want to cultivate together one more time?" LiMu hesitated. "You seem to have forgotten how you felt after the last cultivation," Lu Hanyan said irritably. "Anyway, you'll be leaving in a few days. Let's have one last time. Whether you come or not, just let me know," Lu Hanyan said. LiMu was more than happy. He immediately agreed. "I'll be there," he said. A moment later, the two of them sat cross-legged on the bed. With their hands clasped together, the partial bidirectional cultivation was quite effective. But LiMu could already imagine the situation for tomorrow. The next morning, LiMu got up early to draw talismans, but by this moment, he had already ruined more than a dozen. His mind was full of Lu Hanyan's figure, making it impossible for him to calm down. At this moment, the door was pushed open by someone. Lu Hanyan stood at the door and asked lightly, "Are you coming or not?" LiMu was a little stunned and said, "Yesterday, didn't we agree that it was the last time?" Lu Hanyan almost shouted, "Let's talk. Just say if you're coming or not." LiMu complained in his heart. She is really a woman without self-discipline. But he didn't refuse either. On the third day, LiMu is practicing swordsmanship in the yard. Lu Hanyan walked in from outside and asked, "Want to?" LiMu did not refuse. On the fourth day, Lu Hanyan flew to the top of the wall from the other side of the yard. He gave LiMu a look. LiMu did not refuse. Silently, he followed her to the bedroom. On the fifth day, LiMu did not engage in incomplete bidirectional cultivation with Lu Hanyan, because he was leaving tomorrow. Today, we have to send Little White back to the mountains. Little White is happy and says, "Thank you, sir." If Grandma knew that I could already repay her kindness, she would definitely be very happy. LiMu asked in confusion. Grandma? Where are your parents? Little White replied. Grandma said that I was just born not long ago. LiMu's parents were killed by more powerful monsters. It was Grandma who raised me. LiMu proved his love. The Fox clan is at the bottom of the food chain. Indeed, survival is more difficult. Little White continued to speak. Although I don't have parents, my grandma and other sisters treat me well. Grandma even has 3 tails. Suddenly, LiMu's expression became extremely serious. He asked with a strong smell of blood. Little White also realized something was wrong at this moment. Immediately jumped out of LiMu's arms. Ran madly towards the direction where the smell of blood was coming from. LiMu was startled. He hurriedly followed up. He had a vague sense of an ominous premonition. At that moment, he was afraid that something might happen to Little White. But suddenly his steps halted. Because just a few steps away in front of him, there was a dead fox lying. The area his eyes could see had at least more than 10 of them. The blood on these foxes had long dried up. Obviously, they had been dead for a long time. Little White stammered. Sister Ying, what happened to you? Wake up quickly. Little White's voice trembled almost to the point of breaking. LiMu frowned as he looked at the fox under his feet. The wounds on their bodies were flat and smooth. All were fatal sword wounds. A monster wouldn't leave wounds like these. They are likely to have died at the hands of a human cultivator. LiMu seems to have realized something. He used his magical powers to activate the heavenly eye, and saw that there was not a trace of one inside their bodies. The poison of demonic creatures would not dissipate so quickly, and their time of death would not exceed 3 days. Little White is already lying limp on the ground, crying and saying, Grandma, where are you? Grandma, please come back quickly. Little White is very scared. LiMu sighed and asked, Is there anything belonging to your grandma here? Maybe we can use the talisman to find her. Little White nodded. Yes, there is. Master, follow me, he said, and ran towards a distant cave. LiMu saw a cushion inside the cave. Little White swallowed hard. Grandma often cultivates here. LiMu bent down, picked up a few fox hairs from the cushion, then took out a talisman depicting directions from his bosom, mixed the fox hairs into it, and folded them into a paper crane shape. Immediately threw the paper crane into the air. The paper crane slowly flapped its wings and flew towards the entrance of the cave. LiMu said, Catch up. It should be nearby. In a secluded forest somewhere. Several gray wolves are attacking an old fox. A gray wolf sneered. The old fox never thought you would end up like this. After I swallow your body, I can advance to evolution shape. The old fox's eyes are filled with anger and despair. You want my life. Maybe in the next life. If it's not injured. Naturally, it wouldn't care about these few wolf demons who haven't reached evolution shape. But it was seriously injured by that human cultivator. Now it is running out of oil, and the lamp is almost dry. This has been going on for 3 days. Its only belief is to persistently wait for Little White to come back. But little did it know. Despite being seriously injured, it was still found by these few wolf demons. The old fox forcefully mobilized a trace of magic power. The fox's paw emitted a faint light, and patted the head of a gray wolf that was attacking him. The lead gray wolf shouted angrily, Let's attack together and kill it. The meat of this old fox is a delicacy. The old fox sighed. In despair, it closed its eyes. Unfortunately, it never got to see her Little White in the end. Suddenly, a thunderous sound rang out in the void. At the same time, a white thunderbolt instantly descended upon the head of the Wolf King. The Wolf King was instantly struck down and turned into charred ash, scattered in the wind. The remaining gray wolves were frightened by this sudden turn of events and scattered in all directions. But in the next moment, a flash of white light passed by. Their heads exploded with a bang. LiMu reached out his hand. The white sword, untainted by any blood, jumped into his hand on its own accord. At this moment, Little White saw that old fox. He quickly ran over. "Grandma, how are you?" The old fox smiled bitterly. "I never thought I would see you before I die," Little White said as he spit out a pill. "Grandma, you won't die. Quickly take this pill. Once you take it, you will get better. Sister Inging and the others are all dead. I only have you now." LiMu sighed. A golden light kept shining from his hands, entering the old fox's body to keep it alive. Even if the pill was given to the old fox, it would be of no use. It is still alive now, just barely hanging on due to a strong will. "Spare no words and speak quickly," the old fox said. "Inging and the others were killed by a human man of cultivation," LiMu said. Little White said, "Grandma, rest assured. I will definitely avenge them." The old fox shook its head, saying, "Little White, promise Grandma that you won't take revenge until your cultivation is enough. Don't help them seek revenge," the old fox said, coughing violently a few times. Its breath became even weaker. It used the last bit of strength to turn its head and look at LiMu. "Little White will be entrusted to you." LiMu immediately nodded and said, "Don't worry. I will take good care of Little White." The old fox transferred all of his spiritual power and physical power into Little White's body. In the end, he reminded, "You must listen to the benefactor's words. Serve the benefactor well by his side. Grandma won't be able to accompany you in the future," LiMu said solemnly. "Rest in peace. I will keep my promise to take care of Little White." An unnamed valley. LiMu collected all the bodies of the foxes and made a grave mound. Little White knelt in front of the grave, trembling as he spoke. "Grandma, I will definitely practice cultivation diligently in the future. I will never be playful again." LiMu stood quietly by its side and silently accompanied it. The old fox evolution shape has been around for a long time. In a few more years, it may be able to condense into a demon pill and become a fourth realm monster cultivation. Currently, most of its hun and powers are sealed within Little White's body. After she completely absorbs and refines them, it will be evolution shape's time. "I wonder how long has passed," Little White sniffed and said. "All right, master, let's go." LiMu affectionately patted its head. "I am about to go to the county office soon. It's a completely unfamiliar place." LiMu sighed as he spoke. He himself didn't know if he could take care of himself, let alone bring along a little fairy. Little White lowered its head, seemingly realizing that following Masterin was a burden. LiMu saw its thoughts and comforted it, saying, "How about this? You stay in the county office for now. When I have enough strength to protect you, then I'll bring you to the prefectural office." LiMu and Little White returned home to find it was already noon. Lu Hanyang came forward to greet them, about to say something. He noticed that Little White was still immersed in sadness. "What's wrong with it?" LiMu sighed and said. "Something happened. Little White's tribe and grandmother have passed away. It's the only one left. I am worried about leaving it alone in the mountains. But it's also dangerous to bring it to the county city," Lu Hanyang said incredulously. "How could this happen?" LiMu continued. "I will be leaving in 2 days. I hope you can help take care of Little White for me." Lu Hanyang nodded. "Originally, Wanwan and I also liked it very much. Don't worry. Wanwan and I will take good care of it." LiMu took out a piece of jade and handed it to her. Inside it contains the power of several wolf demons. They once surrounded Little White's grandma. After a few days, Little White's emotions calmed down. "You hand it over to it again." Lu Hanyang accepted the jade. In turn, take out a large stack of silver bills. "This is the royalty fee for your share that has been stored with me. I have exchanged it for you into silver bills. A total of 500 taels. You carry it with you at all times. There are also some scattered pieces of silver. I had Wanwan help pack them into the bundle for you." LiMu did not refuse either. But he is also very clear in his heart. The money earned during this period, although not a small amount, is far from 500 taels. Lu Hanyan asked again. When do you plan to leave? LiMu replied. Early tomorrow. We will leave directly from the yamen. I won't come back to bid you farewell. I don't like the scene of parting ways. Lu Hanyan nodded. Then I'll go back first. Be careful in the county capital. See you at the county office early tomorrow morning. Magistrate Zhang lightly patted LiMu and Li Si on the shoulder. The county office is different from the county capital. After you arrive there, be sure to keep a low profile. No matter when, your lives are the most important. If necessary, just come back. The county government will always have a place for you. Li Si thought for a moment and asked, May I come back now? Magistrate Zhang looked embarrassed and replied, I do not have the final say in this matter. The carriage is here. Hurry up and set off. LiMu said to Zhang Shan, After I leave, please help keep an eye on Yin Pavilion. Zhang Shan patted his chest loudly. You can rest assured and go to the county city. From today onwards. I respect Miss Lu as if she were my own mother. Whoever dares to bully her is bullying my mother. Watch me twist his dog head off and kick it like a ball. LiMu also breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that it was the right choice to have Lu Hanyan arrange a financial path for Zhongshan. Ever since Lu Hanyan brought Zhongshan's wife into Union Pavilion, she inexplicably gained a son. Everything in Yangqiu City has been arranged almost perfectly. Because she is in seclusion. Lu Hanyan and Wanwan stood not far away, watching the carriage gradually move further away, feeling extremely lost in their hearts. And she actually had the urge to follow LiMu just now. It must be because of the bidirectional cultivation. The feeling of bidirectional cultivation holding hands with him is too intoxicating. Can't go on like this. I can't live without LiMu in my whole life. I can't just sink like this. Wanwan noticed her abnormality. Asked with concern, Miss, what's wrong with you? Lu Hanyan said in a deep voice. Tell me. How about we open a few more branches in the county town? The carriage bumped all the way out of Yangqiu City. LiMu sat on the carriage absent-mindedly. He was still thinking about Su'er. I wonder how her alchemy practice is going. And there's also that female corpse at the bottom of the water. I have no idea when she will resurface. Li Si leaned against the carriage. His gaze swept across LiMu's face and he said, I can't believe that besides the boss and Miss Lu, you have another woman on your mind. LiMu asked in surprise, How did you know that I'm thinking about another woman? Li Si replied calmly, When you think about the boss, your expression becomes more serious. When thinking about Miss Lu, there's always a smile on the corner of the mouth. The woman you were just thinking of. Obviously, they're not any one of them. Are you worried she might be in danger? LiMu didn't reply. He just sighed and said, It's really a pity that you don't go and have your fortune told. At dusk, the coachman stopped the carriage and said, 2 grown-ups, we are still half the distance from the county town. There is an inn at the fork in the official road 10 miles ahead. Shall we rest there for the night and continue our journey early tomorrow? LiMu nodded. Let's stay there for the night then. Having a bed to sleep in is always better than sleeping in the open. The inn in the mountains and fields. Its standards naturally cannot compare to those of the county town, but it still provides a shelter from wind and rain. 3 people shared a room. Li Si was in a bad mood, lying on the bed pretending to be dead. At this time, there was an attendant at the inn outside the door inquiring. Certainly. The small inn has meals prepared. May I know if you need any? LiMu declined, because before he left, Lu Hanyan had already prepared a meal for him. She even thoughtfully drew a talisman for LiMu. As long as the talisman is placed on the food box, it can be heated up when activated. LiMu sighed a little. Although they bickered a lot, in his heart, between him and Lu Hanyan. Lu Hanyan is already an exceptionally perfect woman. It's a pity that such a woman doesn't like men. Forget it. Let's finish eating and rest early. Who knows what will happen when we arrive in the county town tomorrow. LiMu after dinner. LiMu lay on the bed, fully clothed, drifting off to sleep. The corridor outside LiMu's room was silent. The candle in the lantern suddenly flickered. Two invisible shadows drifted in through the door. Looking at the sleeping LiMu, they exclaimed, "Sister, come and see! This person is so handsome and good-looking." Another ghost murmured discontentedly, "Don't be foolish. Quickly suck his yang energy. If you go back late, you'll be scolded." The ghost by the bed couldn't help but speak again. "Sister, he's really so handsome. Soft and delicate skin. I don't even want to suck his blood." But as soon as the words fell, her soul suddenly shook. "Sister, why do I suddenly feel a little dizzy?" Another ghostly figure floated over. "You can't do anything right now. Go rest. I'll take care of it myself." But when he saw LiMu's appearance, he also visibly paused. Not to mention, this person is really good-looking. "Oh my! I'm feeling a bit dizzy too." LiMu, faking sleep, muttered in his heart. My positive energy didn't absorb any. Instead, it was my desire that was absorbed. After a moment, the older female ghost suggested, "Why don't we try one more time?" As soon as she finished speaking, the two ghosts bent down at the same time. Gently sucked towards LiMu. Suddenly 2 talismans flew out. Applied them to their foreheads without favoring either side. The 2 ghostly creatures remained bowed, stiffened there without being able to move. The older female ghost exclaimed angrily, "You're still awake?" LiMu got out of bed with a cold snort. "Am I supposed to just obediently fall asleep and let you absorb my vitality? Absorbing human yang energy for cultivation. You 2 ghosts are really audacious. Yang energy is produced by the 7 apertures of the human, contained within the physical body. It is of great benefit to ghosts and monsters. But if a person's yang energy is sucked away, they may feel dizzy and weak at best, or lose their life at worst." The elderly female ghost's body trembled slightly. Those who can make talismans are almost all practitioners of cultivation. Eliminating resentment imps like them is as easy as pie. It hastily pleaded, "Mercy, immortal master. We just absorb a bit of yang energy. We have never harmed anyone's life before." LiMu gave them a glance, saying, "If you had harmed people before, you would have vanished long ago. Evil spirits who harm people always have strong ominous energy." These 2 female ghosts only exude yang energy. Obviously, they have not taken a human life before. There's no need to exterminate them all. LiMu waved his hand. The talismans on the 2 female ghosts automatically floated down and flew back to LiMu's hand. After his magical power greatly increased, he learned 2 more supernatural powers. One of them is beckoning. It means the supernatural ability to manipulate objects from a distance. Although the 2 female ghosts have regained their mobility, they still dare not leave. Trembling, they kneel on the ground and ask, "Can we leave now?" LiMu coldly snorted. "Absorbing human yang energy may not harm people's lives, but it is also not the right way, considering your difficult cultivation. Today I will let you go. If you dare to offend again in the future, I will not show mercy." The elder female ghost hurriedly said, "Thank you, immortal master. The little ghost will never dare to act again in the future." After speaking, she then dragged the other female ghost and fled in a panic. After the 2 female ghosts left, LiMu did not go back to sleep. It's better to avoid trouble when you are away from home. As a constable, I still have to go take a look. In the wilderness, 2 figures swiftly drift between the mountains and fields. The little female ghost couldn't help but ask, "Sister, why didn't you tell the immortal master just now and ask him to save us?" The older female ghost shook her head and said, "It's not the time yet. Do not hold us accountable for our offense. Give us a way out." "How could we involve him?" the little ghost said with a distressed face. "But we didn't absorb any yang energy today. We will definitely be punished by the king when we go back." The big ghost said disdainfully, "Let's just accept the punishment. After all, we can't die anyway, the little ghost said quietly. But we are already dead, the big ghost said irritably. I mean, die one more time. Why are you so talkative? Hurry up and go back. LiMu listened to their conversation all the way and felt that these two female ghosts were also affectionate and righteous. It was not in vain that he had just let them go. But LiMu also realized that these two female ghosts seemed to be hiding something from him. Could it be that they are being controlled by the ghost called the king? The ghost cultivators in the mid-3 realms probably looked down on that little bit of yang energy. So it is said that this king should not have reached the mid-3 realms. If you haven't reached the mid-3 realms, it seems there is nothing to be afraid of. Two female ghosts floated along the way. After about 2/4 hours, they arrived at an abandoned house. LiMu followed closely. They discovered that this place was low-lying and a gathering place for yin energy. Ghosts and demons alike would like to use such places as their lairs. LiMu walked into a large hole under the tree roots. The two female ghosts disappeared near the entrance of the hole. Just in case, LiMu pasted 2 breath-holding talismans on his body. Only then did he walk into the hole. The cave was brightly lit by candlelight. A wicked imp with a distorted face said, "Where is the yang energy you absorbed?" The young female ghost knelt on the ground and said humbly, replying to the king, "We have not encountered any strangers. There are no guests at the inn today." Wicked imp said lightly, "Returning empty-handed. You know what will happen, right?" He reached out his hand, and a dark energy surged from it. In an instant, it solidified into a whip shadow. He whipped the big female ghost with the whip. The female ghost's body trembled. Even the soul shadow seemed a bit illusory. The wicked imp lashed out with another whip at the little female ghost. The big female ghost threw herself on the little female ghost to shield her from the whip. She's still young. It would be enough if the king punishes me. Then wicked imp whipped me a few more times. Only then did he say, "You actually have a kind heart. If you are still useless next time, I will swallow you all directly. To avoid trouble. Get out now." That's it. 2 ghostly creatures are now carrying an unconscious boy up. "Your Majesty, we have caught a living person for you to enjoy today." The wicked imp's gaze revealed a look of satisfaction. He waved his hand and sent 2 black mists into the bodies of the 2 ghosts. The bodies of the 2 ghosts became even more solid. The 2 ghosts bowed repeatedly and said, "Thank you, Your Highness." Wicked imp said with a split mouth, "If I swallow a few more pieces of fresh Hunpa flesh and blood, I can advance to confront ominous devil. At that time, I will definitely be able to gain the favor of His Highness." He slowly approached the young man. His outstretched arm was filled with dark energy, gradually transforming into a ghost claw reaching towards the young man's neck. "Where should I eat first?" Just as the ghost claw was about to touch the young man, a silver light suddenly flashed in the cave. A ghostly claw filled with evil energy was abruptly cut off at the wrist. The wicked imp's face twisted in anger. "Who goes there?" LiMu's figure walked out of the cave entrance slowly. The sword just now confirmed it for him. This so-called king is indeed not yet at the Hun level. The little ghost girl saw LiMu and exclaimed, "Master, how did you come here?" The wicked imp snorted coldly. "It turns out he is a human man of cultivation. Your soul must be more useful to me." He pointed one finger and said sharply, "Kill him for me. Leave his soul behind." Receive the order of the wicked imp. More than 10 other ghost souls in the cave swarmed towards LiMu. With a thought in his heart, LiMu, by Yijian transformed into a residual image, cutting these ghostly creatures into pieces. "Just with you all, you cannot take away my life." At this moment, the wicked imp is holding a trident, and it strikes towards LiMu's forehead. But LiMu is not easy to deal with either. The horizontal sword blocked its attack in time. But this wicked imp's fighting style lacks any form, although occasionally being slashed by LiMu. But his cultivation level is high, so he can quickly recover. LiMu seized an opportunity. The sword stabbed towards its abdomen. It's just that the wicked imp seemed to have anticipated it early. The body shuddered, and the entire abdomen disintegrated into a mass of black gas. LiMu's heart skipped a beat. Just realized that something big was wrong. The wicked imp's whole body has turned into black gas at this point, coming from all directions towards LiMu. LiMu clasped his hands together, and his lips moved slightly. His body emitted a dazzling golden light, pushing away the black energy one jhana away. The wicked imp let out a scream. It turns out you are a monk. It seems to realize that LiMu is not to be messed with. It shouted in the black energy. I am a ghost general under the command of the Chujiangos king. You dare to kill me. Chujiangos king will not let you go. LiMu did not answer. Instead, he changed his spell in his hand again. The Taoism mantra of 9 words came out of his mouth. A thunder full of destructive aura descended with a bang. LiMu then angrily shouted, That is a matter for later. Now you have to die first. After the thunder, the dark mist dissipates. The wicked imp's figure has long disappeared without a trace in the world. At this moment, the little female ghost couldn't stop trembling. LiMu said lightly, Don't be afraid. You have not harmed anyone. I won't kill you. But how did you end up working for this ghostly figure? The female ghost slightly relaxed upon hearing this. Responding, she said, Thank you, sir. We were originally lonely spirits in these mountains. We were captured by this wicked imp to help him absorb the life energy of mortals for his cultivation. Thank you for killing this wicked imp and setting us free. The two ghosts then earnestly kowtowed to LiMu 3 times. LiMu stepped forward to help them up and said, Please get up quickly. It's nothing serious. I just have one more question. Who is Chujiangos king that wicked imp mentioned before dying? The female ghost shook her head. We only know that this wicked imp claimed to be the 18th ghost general under Chujiangos king. I don't know who Chujiangos king is. LiMu frowned. The 18th ghost general. Does that mean there are 17 others ahead? This wicked imp is quite powerful. If it hadn't met me, an ordinary Congeal Hun realm wouldn't be able to handle it. This Chujiangos king is able to control so many ghost generals. Its strength is probably at least equivalent to that of a mid-third realm cultivation. Let it go. It doesn't matter if they are human, ghosts, or demons. None of them are opponents I can currently contend with. LiMu said to the 2 female ghosts, You may leave. Find a place to cultivate quietly. Don't continue to absorb human yang energy. The young female ghost murmured, Kind sir, we don't know where to go. LiMu looked at the 2 female ghosts. Their nature is still good, but their strength is not high. Allowing them to roam freely will surely not lead to a good outcome. Why not let them go find Sister Sue? It's quite lonely being a ghost on its own. Previously, Bai Yinxin left. It just keeps complaining that I visit it too infrequently. LiMu thought for a moment and said, How about this? I can recommend a place for you to visit. Head east along the official road from here. You should be able to reach Yangqiu City before dawn. When you arrive at Yangqiu City, go to Baishui Bay and find a girl named Suer. Just tell her that LiMu sent you to find her. The place is very safe. If she doesn't show up when you get there, just be patient and wait. She will come to you on her own. The big female ghost gratefully said, Thank you, immortal teacher. We will go now. The 2 female ghosts drifted away. LiMu looked at the boy lying on the ground. I almost forgot about you. He bent down and slapped the boy's face a few times. Wake up, it's getting light. The boy's eyebrows twitched. Suddenly his face showed a terrified expression, and he screamed, Ghost! There's a ghost! LiMu said indifferently. Stay calm. Those wicked imps have been slain by me. The young man looked around fearfully. Sure enough, he found that the terrifying monsters in the cave had disappeared. He looked at LiMu and asked softly, Are you a constable? Did you save me? LiMu nodded. Yes. Luckily, I had some free time tonight. Otherwise, you would have been reduced to mere scraps by that wicked imp. Where do you live? I'll walk you back now, the young man said. I live in the county city, LiMu said, somewhat surprised. What a coincidence. I'm also heading to the county city. Come with me. I'll give you a ride back tomorrow since it's on the way, he said. LiMu took him back to the inn, and it was already late at night. The shop was closed. He let the young man sleep in the bed. LiMu looked at the sleeping Lisi with some emotion. This guy really does have a big heart. And this young man felt relieved and walked with me when he saw that I was a constable. The uniform does give people a sense of security. I only wanted to stay by the boss's side to save my life in the beginning. That's why I chose to continue being a constable. Now it seems that I have developed strong emotions towards this profession. A life that was almost lost is now being revived in my own hands. This kind of satisfaction is not something that can be obtained through writing or acting. Maybe this is the meaning of this profession. The next morning, when Lisi woke up, he found a stranger beside him. He looked at LiMu and asked, "Who is he?" LiMu sighed. "Last night, I found him. Today, I happened to be passing by the county and decided to take him back." Lisi muttered. "You really know how to get yourself into trouble," LiMu said impatiently. "Stop being so long-winded. Let's tidy up and get ready to set off. We still have quite a way to go, about half a day's journey." The carriage quickly resumed the journey. The young man, sandwiched in the middle, was uncomfortable sitting and standing, feeling uneasy everywhere. At this moment, LiMu asked, "Right. Since your home is in the county town, why did you come here by yourself?" The young man's tone sounded a bit desolate. "I sneaked out of the house to play outside the city. Later on, I got lost. Just got caught by those two ghosts," LiMu said. "Don't run around randomly next time. Your family must be very worried." The carriage traveled for several hours. Finally arrived at the county city at noon, as the capital of the northern county. The county city looks much more majestic from the outside than Yangqiu City. Pedestrians are bustling at the city gate. The youth got off the carriage at the city gate. LiMu lifted the curtain and said to the youth, "You should hurry back. Don't wander around alone in the future. Next time you encounter that kind of thing, no one will be able to save you." The youth bowed to LiMu in gratitude, then ran into the crowd. At this moment, LiMu said to the coachman, "We still need to trouble you to take us to the county office." The coachman casually agreed. The carriage continued on to its final destination. The county office had three main officials: the county magistrate, the county secretary, and the county constable. The county magistrate is responsible for all affairs within the county. The county magistrate's duty is to assist the county magistrate. The county captain is primarily responsible for the public security of a county. At this moment, Lisi let out a long sigh. "What should we do?" LiMu said helplessly. "How many times have you sighed on the way? Didn't you say last time that Chen is a good girl?" Lisi let out a long sigh and said, "She is a good girl, but I didn't say I would marry her. That's not the way I live my life." LiMu exclaimed in surprise. "You have a life plan?" Lisi replied nonchalantly. "My life plan is to play for a few more years. When I turn 30, I'll find an honest girl and marry her." LiMu just scoffed once. "What did the honest girl do to offend you? You are really something," Lisi mocked. "Where do you think you are better than me?" LiMu retorted. "What's wrong with me?" Lisi snorted coldly. "If you don't like a woman, don't treat her too well. Otherwise, you won't be able to repay this emotional debt in your entire life. The leader, Miss Lu, that little maid, and the woman you were thinking about when you left. How much do you owe altogether?" "I was just fooling around with those brothel women. I never entered their lives, only their bodies." "And what about you?" "Being overly nice to these women, not taking the initiative, not rejecting, not committing, not taking responsibility. Which one of us is not good enough after all?" LiMu found it difficult to accept what was said. Lisi actually thought that she was inferior even to him. He looked at Lisi and asked, "Tu has been good to me. I have been good to her. Is there anything wrong? Miss Lu has also been kind to me. She has been good to me. Is there anything wrong? I treat Wanwan as my sister. I am good to my sister. Is there anything wrong? Lisi looked at him and calmly spoke. Everything you said is correct. But do you want to see Head marry someone? Do you want to see Miss Lu marry someone? LiMu fell silent. For a moment, he was speechless and had no rebuttal. He thought carefully, then finally said, I'm sorry. I really am not a good person. Lisi patted his shoulder. I advise you to cherish the person in front of you. Cherish them while they can still be by your side. Don't wait until you lose it to regret. LiMu pondered for a moment. Are you saying I should have expressed my feelings to the boss at that time? Lisi shook his head. It's useless. Your relationship with the boss hasn't reached that point. The boss won't stay for you. You can't make her stay either. LiMu sighed softly. In fact, he was clearer about this than Lisi. Then he asked, So you mean I should treasure Miss Lu? Lisi gritted his teeth. I want you to cherish me. If something happens to me, who will still care about your emotional matters? LiMu expresses powerlessness. Although I also want to help you, sometimes I am unable to. If the county magistrate wants to do something to you, there's nothing I can do about it. But don't be too desperate. Isn't there a saying? Life is like being raped. Since you can't resist, then close your eyes and enjoy it. End of story. The coachman said, My lords, we have arrived at the county office. LiMu and Lisi got off the carriage. After showing their orders at the gate of the government office, the bailiff smiled and said, Welcome. They are new colleagues, come, he said with a smile. You should be able to make it in time if you go in now. LiMu asked. Catch up with what? The bailiff smiled mysteriously and said, You'll find out once you go in. LiMu and Lisi walked into the county yamen gate under the guidance of this person. They arrived at a very spacious courtyard. More than 10 people were standing neatly in the courtyard. The bailiff walked up to the middle-aged man and pointed to LiMu and Lisi, saying, Xiao, head of the arrest. These two are colleagues transferred from Yangqiu City. They have just arrived at the county yamen. Should we let them participate in this entry test together? The middle-aged man glanced at the two and said, You two, stand in the line. Although LiMu and Lisi still did not know what the entry test was. But they still obediently stood with the more than 10 people. The middle-aged man took out a simple bronze mirror from his arms. The constables at the county government office are not something you can just become whenever you want. Only by passing the test can you be qualified to serve in the county government office. After saying that, he infused his magical power into the bronze mirror. The bronze mirror suddenly shot out a white light that enveloped everyone. LiMu only felt the dazzling light. Subconsciously, he closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the scene around him had changed. In an instant, LiMu realized that this was an illusion. He was not the first time being dragged into an illusion. After a brief surprise, he began to take stock of his surroundings. In front of LiMu was a giant box. Suddenly, the box opened by itself. Inside were boxes full of gold and silver jewelry. At this moment, a voice in LiMu's heart told him, Take a step out. As long as you take that step out, all these silver coins will be yours. To allow him to enjoy wealth and luxury for the rest of his life. With the sound ringing, a trace of palpitation appeared in LiMu's heart. At the same time, he found that his resistance to money was gradually decreasing. LiMu finally understood what the test the bailiff mentioned was. However, the golden hill of Lu Hanyan was swaying in front of his eyes every day. There is no guarantee that he is really moved, let alone this box of silver. At this moment, 2 people in the county yamen's courtyard couldn't help but take a step forward. Chief Xiao gave them a cold look. Unable to resist the temptation of money. Even if he becomes a constable, he will be an oppressive official who preys on the people. Come, take the 2 of them down and send them back to their hometowns. Never hire them. His gaze swept around. hovering briefly on the faces of the three people. One of the young men had a steadfast expression on his face. Not tempted by money. LiMu's expression remained unchanged. It seemed that those silver coins didn't interest him at all. As for Li Si, he seemed somewhat distracted.
Step into the world of fun.